Hey, welcome to the Nick and Nick podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Royalty Roofing and Siding. Crown your home and your commercial property with royalty. Today we have a special guest on the podcast. I'm going to introduce you today. He's a friend of mine now. We've been talking about getting him on the podcast because he actually took over the chiropractic practice that we have built and sustained for the last 26, 27 years. So I'm grateful that you responded to me wanting to be on the podcast and accepted the invitation because I want to pick his brain a little bit. Now that he's 30, 60 days into the process, you're kind of on the other side of the transition, hopefully. None other than Dr. Brian Hay-Stuart. Hay-Stuart, he's originally from Virginia, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then he practiced in Lincoln for a couple years, and then he came to Omaha, actually to Gretna, lived in Gretna. And now he's practicing in Omaha. Yep. And he took over Natural Spinal Solutions. So we're grateful that you accepted the invitation to be on the podcast. So thanks for coming.
Oh, no, it's an honor of mine. I appreciate it.
Well, now that we got you in the hot seat, how's it going?
It's going well. Honestly, it's a dream every day. I will say I definitely really understand that whole concept of like when you love what you do, you don't necessarily always feel like you're working.
Right.
And yeah, when I get to kind of spend time with patients and kind of just see kind of the transformation I can help them go through and everything, it all comes back and it's so rewarding and just makes me happy to be doing what I do every day.
Yeah, especially when you have the opportunity to touch people, to talk to people, to show people that you care and that you're concerned about their overall well-being. Because we know that people really, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
And when we present ourselves to people, we want to be, obviously, loving service is our first technique, is what Dr. Parker talked about. We'll get into those principles in a little bit, but first of all, thanks for being on the podcast. Sure. I'm glad to hear things are going well.
Absolutely.
I want to pick your brain a little bit, though. I mean, I've been talking to you for about 4 or 5 months now through the courting process of, I've been trying to find somebody to take over the practice, and I feel like I was excited about finding you and us coming into contact together and then actually handing the baton off. So it's been a long time desire of mine to move to the next season of my life, and I didn't want to just hand the baby off to anybody.
Right.
Absolutely. I wanted to hand it off to somebody that cared, that I trusted, that was a great chiropractor, that shared like-mindedness and had a similar philosophy on chiropractic as well as life. So yeah, I'm just glad to have you on the set here. And I want to pick your brain a little bit. Absolutely. Now, let me put you on the spot. Let's go, before we get into the details of it, let's go. Are you more of a podcast guy, or what's in your headset? Are you listening to songs when you're working out? You are a rugby player, though.
Yeah, no, I still play rugby, especially with the Omaha Goats around here and everything.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I definitely kind of like a little bit of both. I will say I definitely have my moments where I definitely kind of jam out to some good tunes and some oldies and things. But I definitely do learn a lot from podcasts, and kind of allows me to kind of come down, like relax a little bit more too, and kind of not be so energetic and hyped up sometimes. So yeah.
Because as a wingback in what is it called?
In rugby.
Rugby, yeah. As a wingback in rugby, you got to be hyped up because you're the little scatterbug, right?
I mean, little bit, yeah.
You got to move quick so people don't hit you because you're not a big guy.
No, I definitely try to avoid all the big guys as much as I can, make them look a little silly. But.
And you played at James Madison, right?
Yep, in college and everything. Yeah, I started playing originally when I was 10 years old. Kind of started I had a track coach that kind of was also a rugby coach, and he kind of just asked me one summer if I was doing anything, and I said no. So he said, "Do you want to come play with my rugby team? See how you like it?" And kind of the rest has been history. Wow. Kind of helped me get into college, helped me get to chiropractic school, so it's all been worth it.
Is that how you found chiropractic, was through injuries in rugby? Because that's how a lot of people find chiropractic, is through rugby injuries.
Yeah, no, it definitely had a big portion of that too.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom was definitely big into chiropractic kind of growing up for sure, but as I started playing rugby, I kind of learned about the connection that a lot of that had, and that kind of just always stayed in the back of my mind just kind of as I was growing up, and kind of just eventually once the time was right, I realized it was exactly what I wanted to do, and I think what I was truly meant to do.
What were you attracted to most about chiropractic?
Honestly, it was the natural holistic side of helping kind of patients, and also kind of not necessarily the quick fix that a lot of times some people are looking for in necessarily the medical field and different things. I definitely want to kind of get to the root of the issue, because ultimately taking certain medications can help for a period of time, which aren't necessarily bad, but ultimately aren't going to take away the original cause of what kind of caused that discomfort and pain that we're dealing with every day.
So you're in it for a lifestyle change for most people in terms of and we use this analogy a lot in terms of people have been taught how to take care of their teeth by brushing and flossing their teeth, but few of us have been able to, been taught on how to take care of our spine and our nervous system. by brushing and flossing our spine and nervous system with adjustments and exercises.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's one thing I've definitely learned too. It's kind of my short chiropractic career is that education, and educating the patients goes a long way. And
Right.
it sounds interesting too, because with kind of a lot of the patients that I've kind of taken over that you've seen, I think at least once a day I get, oh, Dr. Nick kind of explained this to me. He told me about this. That's really helped me do this, and so it's definitely just reinforced kind of just how important that is. Just kind of giving patients that power over their own health, so that
Right.
they can feel they have a little bit of more control.
Now that the baton's been passed and you're the owner and the operator, you and Chelsea of Natural Spinal Solutions, how has the transition been going? Honestly.
It's been well. It's definitely had some ups and downs. It's
Yeah.
definitely not perfect or anything, but I think you prepared me as well as you honestly could have.
Yeah, we spent 6 to 8 weeks together.
Yeah, kind of just teaching me everything about the patients that are already
Right.
kind of typically coming in, as well as kind of teaching me just how you've been doing things over the years. Because I definitely didn't need to reinvent the wheel. I definitely needed to just learn and kind of understand what is working, and then how can maybe as we go through, kind of I add my own little flavor and twist to it, and add things maybe just to help it grow or do kind of whatever direction I want to take it in.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been enjoyable for me to be on the sidelines and watch, because I still look at the schedule to see the people that are coming in.
Right, yeah.
And I'm excited to see that somewhere along the line, somehow they got the chiropractic message, or it's embedded into their hard drive. They didn't stop coming because I stopped coming.
Right.
They kept coming, but also it has to do with who you are as a practitioner and as a person, as a communicator and as an adjuster. Right. So it's just refreshing for me to see that, to be on the other side of it and see you take that and run with it and customize it and own it and hopefully grow it to, heights that you or I have never dreamed of.
Yeah, no, and that's honestly the biggest thing too, that kind of just initially with this whole transition process is just kind of setting everything up to kind of be as successful as we can, as well as kind of continuing to build and kind of grow things, just so that not only I can continue to reach the patients that you have kind of established, because it's honestly cool just learning all the stories about kind of the years of patients been seeing you, and then really realizing the impact you had kind of in that transition process and everything, just realizing the impact that you had on kind of the patients that were coming in and different things,
Right.
kind of hoping myself to kind of have that same impact as well in their lives, as well as add new patients to the Natural Spinal Solutions family and just help grow things, just to be able to help as many people as we can.
Now we would be remiss if we didn't mention Chelsea. She's been instrumental.
She's the superhero. She's the one that kind of runs everything for sure.
Tell them who she is now. What is she now? Because I've been calling her your girlfriend. Sometimes I would call her your fiance.
No, yeah. So she's still my girlfriend right
Okay.
now. So yeah. So we're working on the kind of changing that here in the near future. But no, she's been an absolute superhero kind of this whole process, kind of dealing with people, kind of the scheduling, kind of the billing side of things, a lot of the stuff that kind of I'm not the greatest at. Kind of is one thing I've kind of learned about leadership as well, kind of throughout
Right.
this whole process, is kind of understanding what you're not good at, but also kind of appreciating kind of when
Right.
someone puts as much time as she does into things. You always can. There's always more that can be done, which is a great, good to also understand.
Right.
But it's also you want to make sure that people that are working for you or working with you and things like that understand how much you appreciate all that they do.
You bet.
So yeah.
And one of the benefits is nobody's going to care about your success like she's going to. I mean, if you hire an employee off the street, they're not going to care about the success of you or your business like Chelsea would.
No.
I mean, she's got skin in the game.
Absolutely.
So that's an asset in itself in terms of having somebody that is in the foxhole with you when you're building, when you're developing, when you're creating, when you're pivoting,
Right.
And she brings a unique perspective to what you guys are doing. So
No, yeah.
I like the combo effect. Some couples can't work together.
Absolutely.
That
yeah.
was never our case.
So-
It's not yours. What are you finding out? It's not yours.
No, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot about myself too in this whole
Okay.
process. Kind of just learning about how times where sometimes I can be a little bit difficult to work with,
Yeah.
and different things like that. But also kind of like I said, just understanding how much time and effort she's putting into it as
Right.
well, and how much that she cares about this just as much as I do.
And the patience.
Yeah. And that's kind of too, that's the fun part. I think a lot of patients have really enjoyed getting to know her, because sometimes I'll be back there adjusting people and I hear the conversation
Right.
up front just going the
Yep.
entire time and laughing and just joking back and forth. And sometimes I think they enjoy coming to see her a little more than they enjoy seeing
Hey,
me.
whatever you got to do.
Exactly.
I mean, customer service is a lost art nowadays.
Absolutely, yeah.
So when you have somebody that cares about what you do and they actually care about the patients that you do it with, and they're on your team, it's a blessing.
Absolutely, yeah. No, she's been a huge instrumental part. Definitely, the transition would not have happened nearly as smoothly without her, for sure.
So you guys are crushing it now, but a couple years ago, you were in Lincoln.
Right.
You were an employee.
Right.
You decided to not be an employee anymore, whatever that is.
Right.
And You were at one time we talked about, do you want to do an associateship? Do you want to purchase a practice? What do you want to do? Talk to us a little bit about what went through your head in making those decisions.
So one thing I will say is that stood out to me, I guess, when I was younger growing up, my one thing that really made me want to own my own business is one of my best friends, his parents actually own their own law firm. Okay. And I kind of watched them we were basically the same age and everything. So we became best friends in middle school, and we grew up through the years playing rugby and just different things. And I got to see their kind of day to day a little bit especially throughout summers. And that kind of really showed me how much control you can have over your own life when you do own your business. And it definitely comes with some stressors and things like that you don't get when you're an employee. But overall, I wouldn't change it for the world. Definitely these stressors obviously happen and have ups and downs, but having control over your own life and being able to kind of dictate how you want to live your own life is just something that I don't think you can put a price tag on.
Okay. So now that you've tasted that,
oh yeah,
you'll probably never go back to being an employee again.
No, I don't think so, yeah.
However, it wasn't always that way because you were an employee.
Yep.
What did you not appreciate about that? Or because it's easy to say you want to own your own business.
Right.
But once you get there, you realize how much weight, how much responsibility. Then you have people that work with you, and then there's just a lot of responsibility and weight associated with owning your own business.
Right.
What propelled you to that other than what you've seen from those relationships you had with the people at the law firm?
So the practice I had in Lincoln and everything I was working with in Lincoln, it was a fantastic practice and stuff, and definitely learned a lot of things that I never would have had the opportunity to learn if I wasn't there. So
everybody should have the opportunity to do that when they come out of school.
Absolutely, yeah, because that's definitely the first big thing about chiropractic school is definitely, as you know, they teach you how to be a chiropractor and things.
That's it.
But you got to learn how to apply it to the real world, and that is definitely not as easy or not as simple as it seems when you're in school. So that was definitely nice for me to kind of learn the ropes of kind of how a practice runs and
they had a great, I think it was Integrity practice management system in place that that you could superimpose over what you had learned in chiropractic school and kind of start to find yourself and get some traction in chiropractic in your communication strategies with patients. Talk about that a little bit.
No, yeah, that definitely gave me a nice groundwork and framework for kind of how to communicate with patients and kind of what things to really focus on and just overall kind of how to send the right message. Okay. Because that's kind of, I think, a big part of what we do and everything kind of as chiropractors is we want to make sure we send the message, like you were talking about with loving service, that ultimately we care. You know, we're not in here. We don't want you just to come in here just so you can pay us and we can go on your day. I obviously want you to come on in here because you're going to actually feel better. You know, whether it's physically, emotionally, kind of mentally, whatever it may be that you need that day, I want to be able to kind of provide that for you.
Right. In that, why did you decide to buy a practice? Because there's some responsibility and some weight associated with that.
Oh yeah.
And there's different ways you can go about transitioning from an employee to an owner. Why did you choose to do that? What was it about? Was it the fit? Was it the timing? Was it a combination of everything?
It was definitely a little bit of a combination of everything. I will say one thing that kind of stood out to me, I kind of thought about just when you start your own practice, you're starting from ground zero. You're just basically fighting to get one patient through the door at a time, and there's nothing wrong with that. It definitely has its own
grinding,
struggles. I was going to say that's definitely probably where you started and everything like that, so I understand that. And but what I kind of really resonated to is I wanted to, having a little bit of patients kind of already coming in and things like that, starting totally at zero, but I didn't necessarily want like a huge office or anything like that, because I wanted to be able to spend the time that I wanted to spend with each patient to give them that level of care that they needed. Because as you know, everybody needs different kind of things, and it's not kind of cookie cutter, not the same thing works for everybody.
And I think that's one thing that aligned with us in terms of our approach to patient care and taking care of people and helping them maximize their health potential, but ultimately helping them maximize their life potential. So they get the most life out of their years and years out of their life. We're not just moving bones and pushing people out the door. We're actually attempting to impact people's quality and quantity of their life and their well-being. So it's more than chiropractic. It's about helping, loving, serving people and helping them find themselves and maximize their health potential and life potential.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's kind of the part of this that you don't kind of necessarily always understand when you're in school, is kind of how big of an impact you can have just beyond kind of adjusting joints and things like that, and kind of aligning the spine. That's great, and it does a great job too, but there's a lot of things sometimes you got to get to the root issue of why is the person feeling this? Why is there tension in this area? Sometimes it is due to just a misalignment. Other times it's due to stress and life and things like that. And you want be able to for them to know that you genuinely care about their whole person,
Right.
not just their spine or their bones or anything like that too.
The whole person, that's for sure. And that was the name of the book that we wrote, was Maximizing Your Health Potential, keys to maximize your health potential. There's obviously several facets to health.
Right.
It's not just spine and nervous system. There's actually physical, chemical, emotional
Right.
contributions to, stress pretty much causes everything. So and it's unavoidable. So it's about how our body's able to manage it and deal with it.
Right.
And that's the whole purpose with chiropractic, is that the nervous system is a system in the body that helps us manage and filter stress,
Right.
whether it's physical, chemical, or emotional. So when that nervous system functions at an optimal level, we're going to be able to manage stress better.
Exactly.
Which is what life is about.
Yeah.
Because stress is unavoidable.
Absolutely, yeah, and definitely learned that too. Kind of just with the owning a business and everything like that, you're gonna have some great days, you're gonna have some lower days.
You never know.
Exactly.
The printer's going to go out.
Right,
The phone's not going to work. The Chiro touch is not going to work. It's just a part of doing business.
Exactly, and you got to be able, stay as even keel as you can. And I feel like that's one thing I learned from you, just kind of by watching how
Right.
you kind of handle yourself in different situations. Is you definitely stayed pretty, not too high or too low, depending
Yes.
on great or good moments. And so that's definitely something too that kind of helps with the whole process of transitioning to.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I would like to talk about that because I'm not even aware of it, because I've been doing the same thing for almost 30 years, but you had the opportunity to watch me while I do what I do. Tell me some of the things that you've learned just from watching us, how we do things, and then what you've applied to how you do it, and it's impacted not only your results, but you personally.
So one thing one big thing I learned from you kind of right off the bat is that sometimes you can't underestimate just how much something kind of that you may view as a small kind of adjustment or a small kind of an impact.
You never know.
Exactly how big it can be on
Right.
somebody and things like that. So that's definitely something I learned from you. Just always kind of not trying to always do everything all the time.
Yes.
Because I'm definitely I like to work hard and I'm a go-getter. I like to kind of always stay busy. But kind of sometimes you got to understand when this is enough. This
Right.
is kind of where you need to get to, and that's going to get you more of a result than actually kind of continuing to push it or kind of
Sometimes less is more.
Yeah, absolutely.
And keeping the main thing the main thing.
Absolutely.
What other things?
So like I said, kind of the demeanor of kind of staying
How about,
healed.
we've had several of these conversations about present time consciousness, because you and I know that it can be stressful helping people.
Yep.
Their expectations are high.
Absolutely.
They pay a lot of money to come see you and I. Time. They're investing a lot of time in the treatment. It can be stressful. And I know, and we've had many of conversations that you mentioned it can be up and down. You can ride the emotional roller coaster.
Yep.
You can be in the next room thinking about the last adjustment or the last treatment that you did that didn't meet that patient's expectations. But you can't take that experience into the present time. In chiropractic, we call it present time consciousness.
Yep.
That means being all in wherever you're at. Physically, emotionally, wherever I'm at is where I am 100%. I can't be in the last patient or the last 5 patients. I got to be totally here. Otherwise, that carryover, and then you start to get this, not a losing streak, but a negative emotional streak that will carry over. Talk to us about present time consciousness and how you're practicing that, because that's not a skill. That's something that has to be developed. You can't just be told that. We have to develop that over time.
Yeah, so that's definitely something I've been working on, honestly, since I was at my Lincoln office and everything like that.
Yeah, because you were doing a high volume there.
Yeah, so we were kind of going from room to room to room at times, and I definitely learned through sometimes kind of working and figuring things out, kind of the impact you can really have on yourself, kind of just bringing yourself down.
Negatively.
Exactly. And then, but definitely one thing I really do like to do is kind of just take a couple deep breaths kind of between patients and kind of sometimes close your eyes for a second, kind of recenter yourself, let whatever.
It doesn't matter how many people are in the waiting room.
Right, exactly.
Still got to take that moment and reset.
Yep. And that's kind of one thing too. I kind of feel like I learned from you too, just kind of with the pace that you would kind of keep and things like that. I never felt like you were in a rush. I never felt like you were kind of trying to go too fast.
Because the patient can tell when you're rushing.
Right, exactly.
And you don't even have to be rushing. I mean, it's like we're touching them. They're picking up what we're experiencing just through touch.
Right, and that's actually one thing I definitely you kind of helped redefine with me too. Just kind of my energy that I'm giving off kind of goes right. I'm transferring that right into them with adjustments and everything that way.
Passion, love, zeal, whatever that positive emotion that you have is being they feel that.
Right.
If it's negative, they feel that too. If it's being in a hurry, they feel that too.
So I've definitely kind of just overall understanding kind of the moment that I'm in, moment to moment, and kind of just basically, like you said, kind of just sometimes well, you let that moment go and you move on to the next one,
Yes.
and you move on to the next one, so that you can be the best version of yourself for
Right.
each patient as they come through.
Because at the end of the day, if you're riding this roller coaster, you're going home to your wife and eventually your kids, and you're exhausted.
Oh, yeah.
You got nothing to give them. So that what I've learned early on, because I've did the exhaustion thing, is just to stay right here. You can't get too high because there's a huge burst of energy, endorphins, that gets released too high. Same principle when it's too low.
Right.
So we just have to stay here so that we can be present at all the time with a constant amount of energy and focus, and desire.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you're riding this wave and you're exhausted.
No, yeah, and that's honestly, actually, Chelsea was kind of one of the best people to kind of explain that to me a little bit in her own way. Was when I was at my Lincoln office, kind of just as I was starting out, kind of going through those ups and downs. I definitely kind of, I remember one time just, I felt like I was having an off day, and I felt like it just wasn't the day wasn't going the way I wanted to.
It happens all the time to everybody.
And she came in to get adjusted, and I remember asking her in that moment, kind of like, is there anything you're noticing right now? Is there something, that I can do differently? I feel like I'm off a little bit. And the first thing and the only thing she said, she's like, I don't feel like you're present. I don't feel like you're present right now. And I feel like you're kind of thinking about it the whole day right now.
And it wasn't anything that you said.
Nope.
It was what she felt through your touch.
Exactly. And that kind of, and I definitely took a minute for me to absorb that. Definitely was a little, I had to kind of humble myself a little bit and kind of realize, okay, kind of think about where she was coming from.
Right.
But I'll be honest, it has been probably one of the best pieces of advice that anyone's given me in general about just me being a chiropractor and just being kind of living life, just being present moment to moment and kind of not carrying that extra baggage that kind of comes with everything. Because as you know, patients will kind of explain what they got going on, their life stories. And as much as we obviously want to help support them through that, we can't carry that on to the next patient. And we're not going to benefit anybody or ourselves if you do it.
That's wisdom right there. But again, it's something that has to be developed, and practiced. And there's no better voice than the voice of your significant other to tell you, hey, you're not getting the outcomes that you desire, not because of your technique. It's because you're not present in your technique. It has nothing to do with the technique.
Exactly.
It's about being present in the technique. And that's where what we call in chiropractic, where you're certain in that moment you're doing the exact right thing with the right intent at the right time. And that's when the outcomes that we desire, that's when they manifest themselves.
Absolutely. And that's kind of exactly that statement you just said right there. I remember the first time you really kind of talked to me about that and everything, and how much does that just resonated with me about how, doing the right thing at the right time, in the right way, with the right technique, and the right intention, just all of that aligning delivers kind of the best overall result for anybody, regardless of what they're kind of dealing with.
And as long as we leave that encounter knowing that all that stuff was in place, then we have to deal with whatever outcomes happen, whether good or bad. We know that we put our whole self in to that encounter. Now we have to let the chips fall where they may, because we did our absolute best. Now we go to the next one, we do it again.
Absolutely. So,
for me, that was physically and emotionally demanding. It took me forever because I care about people. And I love people, and I want them to enjoy their experience. I want them to get, as we all do, to have these positive outcomes. So I just had to be okay with me leaving every encounter. Were all those things in alignment? Did I check all the boxes? And before you know it, you're checking the boxes unconsciously because you're just always in the moment.
And that's kind of, that's as I've kind of gotten into the groove of things and just more comfortable day to day, I feel like I'm getting closer and closer and closer to kind of fully achieving that the exact way I want to. And it's just, like I said, this is why I personally feel like when I'm coming to work every day, it's not really like work. I get to just spend time with people and get people feeling better and kind of help people live the lives that they want to live and enjoy life better.
As you develop that, you'll find that that's when you go from 20-minute visits to 10-minute visits. So some guys can do 3-minute visits. Because they're so pointed, they're so disciplined, they're so refined that they can get the same outcomes that you and I get in a 12-minute visit in a 3-minute visit. Because they're so refined in that. That never was a desire of my heart, but as I progressed and became more confident, we call it FCB in our PSI. Faith, confidence, and belief in our product, in our service, and our idea. When we get certain on what we're doing, then we can Jesus is a great example. He can walk up to somebody and say, follow me.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. And that was honestly one thing. I know I've talked to you about one of my classmates, Dr. Duke. Who's
Yeah, you're Dr. Duke.
Yeah.
Let him know.
Absolutely. No, he's a great chiropractor out in Des Moines area. But no, me and him, we were going to school together and everything like that. There were a lot of times where we just had to kind of like, trust in God, trust in the Lord and things like that, and do everything we can. And, trust that everything, if it's meant to be, it'll happen. He'll kind of help us and guide us in that direction.
Right.
Because, I mean, sometimes as business owners, you try to do everything. You try to kind of
be all things to all people. And you got a lot of hats to wear.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of too is something I've learned kind of in this process, of just the little things that you don't.
And
think
you don't even have any headache. I mean, employees.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, that slipped.
But no, absolutely. And that's honestly kind of the one of the best parts about kind of starting a business is I've learned more about myself probably in the last 60 days than I have probably maybe kind of the last year that I was working with my
Give me two things you learned about yourself in the last 60 days.
Well, one thing I've learned about myself, first off, is that I sometimes can focus on all the stuff that needs to get done rather than sometimes appreciating what we did accomplish that day.
There you go.
And that's definitely something, especially when you are working with your significant other or anything like that, you really want to make sure you can, you understand that there are positives, regardless of, there's always more stuff you can do, but you definitely want to take time to appreciate the positives. For sure.
That's awesome, because that's a Parker principle.
Yep.
It's don't let the negative few outweigh the positive many.
Right. Yeah. And that's honestly and I didn't go to Parker. I went to Palmer College of Chiropractic.
We won't hold that against you.
But definitely kind of learning the Parker principles kind of from getting to know you has kind of opened my eyes to just better ways of thinking.
Yes.
I definitely have moments in tough times where I'll look back at them and kind of see like, okay, remind myself, if it's meant to be, it's up to me kind of thing. And
what does that mean to you? Because that was actually Nick and I's first podcast. That was the principle that we covered was, if it is up to me, if it's to be, it's up to me. What does that mean to you?
So that kind of means to me is kind of a little bit, also I established my faith with that too a little bit. Right? Like basically, you want to accomplish something, but it's not just going to be handed to you. You know, God will definitely allow it to happen if it's meant to be, but He's not going to
point you in the right direction. He ain't going to do the work.
Exactly, and that's kind of the one thing too. My dad kind of always established me too is like it's great to have things given to you, but nothing in life is free. You definitely get lucky here and there. Sometimes chips may fall your way, which is great. But definitely never be afraid to put the work in, and also never ask someone to do something that you're not willing to do yourself. Because that's kind of something too that, especially when you do have employees or teams, or even with working with Chelsea at the office, I can never ask her to do something that I also wouldn't be willing to kind of sit down and kind of get to know myself too as well. Because I appreciate everything she does, and I want her to know that. And just kind of by showing her that I don't see myself as above her or anything like that. We are right here, equal, and get ready to go throughout this whole process.
Sounds like a marriage to me. So now this is a little bit deeper. So it takes that Parker principle. If it's to be, it's up to me. It takes it to another depth in terms of when you close your mind, when you close your eyes in your mind's eye, what does it look like? What does it touch like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? When you're talking about if it is to be, what is it for you? So what is your vision?
I guess so. In terms of I guess maybe it changes moment to moment, kind of depending on what you're dealing with. But it is kind of that overall kind of goal that you want to accomplish that kind of causes the most good for the most people, in my opinion. So that whether it's kind of, adding something to the office that can help kind of patients and help have patients feel better or help make patients feel more comfortable, that could be that. Or whether it's kind of accomplishing either a specific kind of situation with insurance or dealing with that, depending on what goals you have to accomplish with that too as well. Or kind of whether a lot of times, which is going to be a lot more going on here, marketing, kind of growing the practice and things like that. And if it's meant to be kind of being in this area at the right time to meet the right people, it's meant, but it's up to me to get there. It's up to me to get, stick my neck out there and kind of take the chance too as well, because nothing's going to be handed to me.
So we kind of put this vision together for the Spinal Solutions, and you kind of took it over.
Right.
And now you're making it in your own. What unique things are you either adding or subtracting to what we handed to you to make it your own, so that you can actually at some point hand that to hopefully one of your kids.
Right, yeah.
Or, somebody else.
So one of the biggest kind of things, first off, that me and Chelsea kind of talked about as well, just kind of getting established, was that we wanted to make sure that everybody at the end of the day kind of just continue to feel comfortable. Because that was one thing I definitely realized and kind of saw with you in the practice is all the patients, they just enjoyed coming.
Nobody's uptight.
Yeah.
Nobody's, there's no drama.
Right. Absolutely, yeah.
There's no negative emotions. They want to be here. We're not forcing them to be here.
Right.
But go ahead.
No, yeah, but and that's kind of, so that was kind of our first kind of thing too, because we kind of took time, actually. We sat down and we talked about what's everything that's going on right now that we can continue to do that's working, you know. And we had a lot of those, you know, just kind of the flow of things, kind of the adjusting styles, kind of just like the ways we kind of communicating with patients, letting them know we care and things like that. And then really the first thing we really wanted to add to it was honestly just growing the reach, you know, kind of just figuring out what areas next year can we really start to help kind of grow and reach more people, you know, and kind of how can we also to kind of plan little things at the office too, just to use patients kind of that already come in to help kind of reach more people too, because we did a little bit of like a raffle, kind of we raffled off some ballast tickets and everything like that, because that's always a fun time around this time of the year. And we think, you know, if a patient was able to refer somebody or anything like that, they were able to get a raffle ticket. And we actually got a decent amount of patients just kind of off that too. And we were happy just to see how many people kind of offer, you know, referred people and names and things like that. And a lot of them too, they were kind of like, they appreciated kind of everything we did and kind of just how much we cared and the consistency that we kept. So they kind of wanted to give back too. And that's kind of been one of the most rewarding parts of this, is just seeing how much the patients also want to give back too, kind of after they kind of see how serious I kind of took the situation of that transfer process too. And I didn't take it lightly, just taking over your baby or anything like that. Kind of, I definitely gave it that care it needed.
So now you're making it your own.
Right.
So what are some other things you're learning about yourself in this process?
So I'm learning to definitely kind of, one, just stay in more even keel. Definitely, I wasn't necessarily super high, super low. I kind of learned a little bit of that in my old office. But just now that you are a business owner and a leader, kind of the office is a reflection of your leadership.
Yes.
So that's one thing I've had to kind of also just take more accountability for as well too. You know, something doesn't work the way I want it to, it's not necessarily anyone else's fault. I have to look at myself first.
Right.
And then kind of see how could I have impacted this situation and what I can control. And that's kind of something too that's helped me kind of grow as a man, just understanding that accountability and things like that, just so that I can just overall just carry myself in a better way.
And these are the things, to be honest with you, when we talked, you were like, is associateship an option?
Right.
And I'm like, no, because you would be stunting your personal growth and development.
Absolutely.
These are things that you and I, we don't encounter, we don't experience them until we have to experience them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. Yeah, I will say that was honestly one of the best pieces of advice I think you've given me, just because originally I was kind of had that little bit of a mindset, kind of like, hey, we'll kind of ease into this.
Yeah, we all do.
And try to make it so we're comfortable, and then we'll do that. But no, you kind of telling me like, you know, because you told me you either got to go all in or not at all. You know, sticking one foot through the door isn't going to get you where you want to get to. And I will say I kind of went back, thought about that for the next couple of days and everything, and I really was like, that is exactly the mentality I need to have. Because I'm not going to be successful in any type of business as a business owner if I'm only half in or partly committed, and then because it's never going to be a perfect time.
Nothing's going to be perfect.
Right. You got to try to take the opportunity. Opportunity comes once, it doesn't come back around and knock again and ask you if you're ready for it. You got to be ready when it presents itself.
The principle there is the opportunity of a lifetime must be seized in the lifetime of the opportunity.
Right.
Otherwise, we miss out.
Exactly. And that's kind of, my dad was very big on that kind of growing up. Kind of, if you do have an opportunity and you got to take it. If you feel like it's right and you feel like it's something that you need to do for you, you got to take the chance, because if not, you're going to look back and wonder what could have been, what might have been, and that you don't want to live your life that way.
Right. And you better stay ready. I'm preaching to myself. I better stay ready so I don't have to get ready when the opportunity presents itself. Otherwise, I'm behind the opportunity. And
exactly.
I missed it.
Yeah, exactly. There's just a connection point that just doesn't happen. And you just kind of end up, you look back, like I said, you wonder, and I just, personally in life, I don't want to ever look back and wonder what if I had done this, what could have happened and things like that. I want to take the chance now and kind of, figure it out as I go sometimes too, a little bit, because that's part of growing too, is kind of learning throughout the process.
Since you're talking about the future, where do you see this thing going? I mean, we've had a vision, we built a gym, we've done different things. Now, what is yours? Now it's your turn to kind of identify what the end looks like and then work backwards from there. Right. What does that look like? Do you have a clear vision?
So I will say, we're still forming it a little bit and everything, because I will say, me and Chelsea really helps kind of focus things for me, because I'll have all these ideas and things. We could do this, we could do that, which are all great and dandy, and don't get me wrong, but sometimes you need a little bit of that direction to make sure we accomplish it all. And it could just kind of be just all ideas out there. So So no, I definitely, my main goal though, initially kind of like, at least right in the beginning, want to kind of grow, want to kind of build and kind of just overall keep the environment that you kind of established and just make sure we just kind of let people know that this is going to be, you're going to still get the same kind of loving care and service that you got originally with Dr. Nick. That's not going to be kind of cut short or anything like that or change with me. And then as I go through, I'm looking kind of just to add more kind of just more little things, kind of more stuff that I've kind of learned throughout the process and kind of a little more kind of some like extra soft tissue kind of aspects of it and things like that. A little bit of Graston, a little bit of cupping and things like that, as well as kind of also just kind of working more on the education part of it. I definitely want to kind of work on that's some area where I think I can also improve and grow continually, just to kind of be able to educate patients and give them more power on how to take care of themselves, whether that is learning more of the new things that are coming out nowadays or going to more of the continuing education seminars and kind of learning new studies that have kind of come about where chiropractors, you know, have learned and kind of done the hard work, and you just got to kind of understand the message they're trying to send so you can kind of pass that on to your patients and empower them in that way too. That's
awesome. I'm proud of you guys. You guys are doing great.
We're trying.
I track the schedule.
Absolutely.
And I see people out in the community, you know, that are patients, and I'm just nothing but good things to say about you guys, what you're doing, how you're going about it. And I'm just proud of you guys. So I appreciate you taking the time to share your heart and talk to us about yourself personally. I'm thankful that you're the man.
I'm trying to be the best I can
that you're taking care of. I mean, because now my family is coming to see you.
Yep, absolutely. And I will say, it's been great kind of hearing the stories and everything like that.
I don't know what they're telling you, but
so nothing but good stories. But no, it's been great to kind of get to know them too and everything like that. So it's been honestly like it has been a dream of mine to kind of do this, and it's been better than I ever could have imagined it could be. And I get it, you know, you're gonna have some tough days, ups and downs and things like that, but you roll with the punches.
Yeah, what would you say to somebody? Maybe they're on the fence about whether it's a chiropractor or anybody in any other industry of associating or being an employee versus being an entrepreneur that's starting their own company. What would you say to somebody that's on the fence about it?
Honestly, I would, and from my personal opinion,
you can look at the camera too.
I would tell them to take the opportunity. You know, I would say it's not, you know, you don't know how many times you're going to get the chance to be able to kind of start your own thing and kind of do everything that you want to do and basically kind of control and have that freedom, you know, because it's obviously you have your kind of, you know, you're attached to the business and everything, but I didn't realize how much more freedom I would kind of have in terms of decision making and how I want to do things and kind of how I want to control a schedule and things like that have kind of empowered me in ways that I never would have expected, you know?
So Dr. Parker said, seeing is not believing.
Right.
Believing is seeing.
Right.
So you got to believe it before you see it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that is a huge, definitely something too. I've kind of just like, you know, seeing where you want to get to, you know, and seeing, I'm like, this is the end goal that I want. How do I, what goals do I need to kind of have along the way to get there?
And who do I need to come alongside to help me get there?
Right, yeah. And that's one thing too that, you know, Chelsea and I have kind of talked about at some point because she has her own small business and things like that too. So it's like, I understand she won't be able to forever be doing kind of the front desk things all the time. So kind of once that time does come, like, what are we looking for? What do we need? Like, what is the exact kind of areas that we need someone to check all the boxes in to fit what we're trying to do? Just like with you were talking about with the lack of drama and things like that. Because that's also one thing I learned from you and things like that. Kind of limiting the drama and the stress kind of within the office helps make everything function easier and just life for you. So,
Well, thanks for joining us today. I just want to say how proud I am of you guys, and it looks like you're doing a great job, and just keep up the good work and keep growing it.
No, absolutely. And I also too want to just say how much I appreciate you kind of entrusting me with with your baby and everything, and just giving me this opportunity, because I don't take it lightly. I don't want to take it for granted or anything like that, because it allowed me to kind of live a dream of mine that, you know, I always wanted, and it's just kind of. It's crazy. When I say it felt surreal kind of for that first month, like it really felt surreal kind of waking up.
When you waking up and then you got the keys to the door and it's quiet and it's you and God basically in a vehicle that He's given you to drive, and He's entrusted you with.
So it's definitely it's a dream come true, and
so I appreciate it
for the world.
Keep it up. You're doing a bang up job. You guys are awesome. Appreciate it.